All right, episode 33. Another public service announcement, health announcement. So, we are sitting here in October in Las Vegas and we've got some rain and thunder and lightning, but it's fall time. It's beginning to be cold and flu season time. Why is that? Well, these viruses, and some people get sick with some bacteria, but the vast majority, colds and flus are viruses. So there is no bacterial cold or flu. So these bugs are generally transmitted through the air. And where are most Americans in the fall and in the wintertime? We're starting to head indoors because the weather is inclement. So, we want to stay dry. We want to stay warm. Now, in the southeast and the southwest, these seasons can be a little different because we're mostly indoors during the spring and summer months when it really starts getting hot and we want to be cool instead of the 110 blazing heat, or someplace in Florida where it's 90 or 100 degrees and then they've got that humidity that you don't need lungs, you need gills to survive. So um, so you can see differences in the area that you live in of cold and flu season, and you can also see that when COVID came out. So in the Northeast, Northwest, where COVID initially hit the United States, like Washington and New York, it was due to the weather being inclement and more people were indoors. And so that's where these viruses are easily passed, is when we're indoors. So what I want to talk about, though, is some things that we can do to help reduce our risk of getting a cold or flu virus, and in maybe the severity of how hard it hits us. So one of the first things is when you're intermingling among friends and things, handshaking. Well, we did the experiments in medical school that showed the passing of viruses, and wait a second, you just said most of these are passed when they're in the air, which is true. However, one of the symptoms of a cold is a runny nose, and what do most people do? Well, they'll blow their nose in the tissue, which doesn't kill the virus, and so now it can be on their hand. Or if they don't happen to have a tissue, they wipe their nose with their hand, and it sits there on their hand, and they're not running and washing their hand before they shake your hand, and so you can get it from just shaking people's hands. So in cold and flu season, the old fist bump might be the right thing to do. And if you want to be really savvy, bring the Asian or Japanese method of bowing to people, and that'll help to eliminate that aspect. Uh, then obviously, wash your hands, and I think people can get a little overzealous with the hand washing and the hand sanitizers because it does have a tendency to destroy the bacteria or the microbiome on your skin, or break the skin barrier down from drying it out too much. So, which actually increases your likelihood of a virus attacking you or getting into you. So, but just wash your hands. Obviously when you use the restroom, but if you've been out in public, another great practice is if you're going to a public gym, when you're done training, go wash your hands. Most of the people haven't washed their hands. They're sweating and wiping their faces and, sneezing and coughing and getting on their hands. That stuff can get on the equipment and it can get on your hands. And then, last but not least, try to keep your hands away from your face. We unknowingly are always touching our face, and that's how these viruses get in, through the mucosa of the eyes, the nose, the mouth. So wash your hands, try not to touch your face, and you'll eliminate the ability for that virus to really invade you. I said eliminate, but really greatly reduce that risk, right? What are some other things? Most of us uh, should be aware about the benefits of nasal breathing. And so, what happens when we breathe through our nose, and we have that episode that Holly and I were talking about breathing, is when we breathe through our nose, that air is warmed and moistened. And it also helps the nasal microbiome. And when we breathe through our mouths, it tends to dry things out. And that drying out actually can harm the oral microbiome. So nasal breathing helps. And there's a great book by James Nestor called Breathe, or Breath, depending on how you want to say it. But it talks about the benefits of nasal breathing. And I can tell you that from mouth taping at night when I sleep and focusing on nasal breathing, the incidence for me personally of having colds is greatly reduced. It's You're much less likely to get congested because that tissue is always being used. When you're a mouth breather, that tissue can close off, and you're really not noticing it, right? So nasal breathing is of paramount in my opinion. Um, Sleep. Well, we can't say enough about sleep, but how does that, relate to cold and flus? Well, if you're getting proper sleep, that really helps your immune system and improves the function of your immune system. But if you start to get ill, your body is fighting a battle internally with the innate immune system. So we have our barrier protection, we have our innate immune system, and then the third aspect of the immune system. And so that as that battle is going on, it takes up energy, right? That energy fatigues us. So don't be afraid to take a little extra rest. If you're not feeling well, take a little extra rest. That's actually good for us. I think that's what I want to say about sleep. It's important all the time. And then, if you're not getting good sleep, we should bring Dr. Suarez back in and talk about the things that we should be doing to improve the quality of our sleep. But sleep will really help to reduce your risk of getting ill because you're maintaining a nice healthy immune system. Um, let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Exercise. I listened to a great podcast with the great Andrew Huberman when he discussed exercise and illness. And in essence, he was relating information from a study that had looked at this. And basically, the dogma was, I don't know, so dogma, the reduction of the information is, do less than 60 minutes of exercise and keep it at moderate intensity. Don't go all out. You shouldn't, if you're a power lifter, you shouldn't be trying to do your singles and doubles during that time. If you're a runner, you shouldn't be trying to do sprinting or beating your times. You just want to, keep the system moving. Why? Because we want blood flow and the lymphatic system moving. Keep those white blood vessels going. And as we exercise and we increase our body temperature, that's going to demarginate white blood cells from the inside lining of the blood vessel, and they're going to be out in the immune system, improving our ability to fight off viruses or bacteria, or any kind of pathogenic invader. So stay active, exercise, and I say this, and it always brings to memory when I was lifting real heavy. It really seemed to be that prior to getting sick, my strength in the gym was ridiculous. And so I rode that wave and trained to my body's ability. And then the next, either later that day or that next day, the virus got me. I overtrained and dropped the immune system function, right? So I lowered my immunity, and then the virus took over. So it was really strange, as at least from my experience, how the system was kind of ramping up to fight the infection, and I took that energy and focused it on my own selfish ego lifts back in the day, and then the universe slapped me down and said, you shouldn't have done that. And I could tell every time, but I kind of ignored it, right? So but if you're starting to feel a little under the weather, or if you start to feel like, wow, I'm all of a sudden like really super strong, maybe take a step back, give it a day or two, because there's probably something trying to get into your system. So, cut the workout down to 60 minutes or less, make it moderate intensity, and go for it. I think I'd like to maybe do a questionnaire study on a lot of these athletes. So this weekend here in Las Vegas, we have the Olympia, and I wonder if next week a lot of these athletes that have depleted themselves and done everything they could to get on stage, trained real hard, I wonder if they get sick this next following week more often than the athletes that don't, because of that stress on their body. uh and then with the Olympia, I think they have some strongman shows, some powerlifting competitions. So there's a lot of different athletes there, very similar to the Arnold. And so a lot of these athletes might be going home sick. Another potential reason for that is because a lot of them are traveling in from different parts of the country, bringing in different viruses, right? And so then a lot of people are being exposed to a lot of different viruses in that environment. Back to handshaking and not washing their hands. So there's a lot of things going on, but again, these are supposedly really healthy people. But if you know the bodybuilding industry, they are at their least healthy while they're on stage. So just a little thought, right? What else? Um, you talked about increasing body temperature. And this was another thing that Dr. Huberman spoke about, was the use of sauna, because a sauna at about 180 to 210 degrees obviously increases your body temperature. That will demarginate a lot of the white blood cells, so it can help improve the function of our immune system. Obviously, vasodilates, so we're getting better blood flow, we're getting lymphatic flow, so we get a lot of good things. The recommendation was 15 minutes of sauna with a 2-minute break in like, and then another 15-minute, another 2-minute break, and then another 15-minute. And in those 2-minute breaks, he didn't recommend using a cold plunge, although I guess you could, but maybe just a cool shower, just to cool off, maybe hydrate, and then go back in. And then these can be repeated, maybe a couple times a week, so 2-3 days in between that 3 sauna session. And they showed a lot of health benefits as far as improvement in white blood cell function and amounts in the blood. So something that can be done. Now, as far as cold plunging goes, um, if you're feeling sick, I don't know that I would recommend it at that time, because I think that is too much stress. But if you're not sick and you're trying to prevent it, well, I think that the benefits of cold plunge, by increasing cortisol levels and all the hormone levels that it increases, uh, that absolutely can be a benefit for you, and especially if it's something that you've been doing. So, cold plunge and sauna work really good. If you're already sick, I wouldn't recommend at least doing the cold plunge, and maybe not even the sauna once you're already sick. If you do get sick, what are some of the natural supplements that we can consider? Well, we all know about vitamin C, but you want to use high dose, like a gram, 2 grams of vitamin C, because that has been shown to have some antiviral effects. And so we get some benefit there. Uh, I have a recommendation, and I changed it, but it used to be 50,000 units of vitamin D3 for 3 days in a row. And then I read a study that showed that 7 days in a row was actually more appropriate. So I recommend that to my patients. Even for patients that are otherwise taking healthy levels of vitamin D, and we're maintaining vitamin D levels, 60 to 80, the additional vitamin D for that short period of time causes no harm and actually helps reduce the severity and duration of the illness. Um, N-acetylcysteine, great mucolytic, 600 to 1200 milligrams. So if you're really congested and the mucus is thick and you're having a hard time getting it up, you can use some N-acetylcysteine. It really helps to thin that mucus and get it out. So you don't need to take guafenicin. It's just a natural treatment for it. Zinc, zinc also helps the immune system, and that's what's in a lot of the nasal sprays. and things of that nature. So you have to be careful with some of those though, because that zinc in the nose has been shown to damage the olfactory nerve. So some people have gotten anosmia, or what people were associating with COVID, the inability to smell. Well, that can come from zinc. COVID can do it as well, but zinc can absolutely do that. But oral zinc, about 50 milligrams, will, during that time, really help improve the function of the immune system. And then there's a nuanced supplement that I like. Um, Andrographis panicularis is the name of the actual active ingredient. I use a supplement from my favorite provider, and but I don't want to give their name. They're not a sponsor of the show or anything, but the name of their supplement is called Viracid, and you can look it up and you'll find the name of the company. But I've been a big fan of Viracid because of the Andrographis panicularis, and I've looked at some of the research on that particular substance, man, it's. I'm going to sound silly, but it's almost like bleach because it kills everything. It kills fungus, it kills bacteria, it kills virus, and it just kills everything. And but it's not an antibiotic; it's all natural. From all the things I've read, I don't see any harm in the gut microbiota. So I think I know it's safe, but I recommend my patients take 1 to 2 capsules when they start to feel sick every hour or two while they're awake, and no need to get up out of bed and take it every hour or two because again, the benefits of sleep. But personally, I found this to be amazing and help to kind of stave off illnesses. So those are some of the ideas. Obviously, stay hydrated. Lots of water. And I think this is important too. In general, keep the processed food and high sugar containing foods down. Why? Because these pathogens require sugar to kind of replicate. Maybe not so much the viruses, but a lot of the bacteria, and a lot of people will end up with a bacterial lung infection from the viral cold. So if you keep those sugars out of your diet and eat mostly protein and fat vegetables, I think you're going to do yourself a world of good in that realm as well. So hopefully this helps, and keep you from having to call off work sick. Call out, you can fib and take the day off and enjoy yourself, but hopefully it just keeps you from being sick. Nobody likes it, and because it's no fun. So thank you for listening, and again, if you have any ideas of topics you'd like me to cover, please put them in the comments, and we'll be happy to address them. Thank you.